call the March 18th, 2014 regularly scheduled Board of Trustees meeting, Fairfield County School District, to order. We have public notification of the meeting, Ms. Brown?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And confirmation of a quorum. We have the four of us right here. Ms. Harrison is ill and will not be joining us after we had hoped she'd be able to do so by phone, but she let me know just about 20 minutes ago that she was not going to be able to do that either. So we wish her best and hope all is well. We'll entertain a motion to enter executive session.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham and Ms. McDaniel. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We'll return to public session no later than 6:30.
You want to select time, right?
I mean, it's like a dinner worthy, right? I thought to myself,
I'm always being nice to newspapers. That's true, he did. He did.
Madam Chair, I make a motion we exit executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Frick. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. McDaniel. All those in favor of exiting executive session in which no action is taken, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We'll move on down to C, welcome. We will go toward the pledge of allegiance.
is this part of the meeting supposed to start at 6:30?
Starts after the executive session.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't have a set time?
Right, after executive session, which will not last more than 30 minutes. Ms. Brown, did you know that Ms. Hartman and Mr. Miller arrived during the executive session time? Thank you. Again, we welcome those in attendance. I'm sorry we didn't have quite the excitement going on to get the group from the town hall meeting last week, but we welcome and thank you for coming out on such a rainy, cold evening. And we'll move on with Mr. Frick.
Y'all, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
While we're standing, take a moment of silence and reflection. Thank you.
We'll move down to the approval of the agenda. Any objections to that? We'll move forward. Hearing none, consent that the agenda has been approved. Next to public comment.
We have one person Mr. Thomas Armstrong, who I would point out was a fellow member of the inaugural Fairfield Central cross-country team.
Oh, you remember that?
I remember, I heard you did too.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Board chair, board members, trustees, Mr. Green, newspaper, Herald Opinion, and the voice. I really had hoped that more people would be here tonight. Not that I really have anything people really want to hear, but I just want to take this opportunity to reflect on something. For those of you who made it out last Wednesday town hall meeting, we saw something that we had never seen. Now, I've been in Fairfield County my entire life, all 19 years. And, you know, and I've seen some superintendents come and go for various reasons. But during my tenure here, going to school and everything here, I had never witnessed what I witnessed on other week. I saw someone who was not born and raised in Fairfield County, someone who sort of moved into our area somehow. He got here and moved into our area, but he stood up and he fought like he was born and raised here. He fought with passion. You know, everybody by now is aware of the rumors that were spread out, and you know, this person didn't run from that fight. Not that he started the fight, but I believe he put an end to it. And you know, that type of attitude I applaud, because he came in and he had accepted Fairfield County as his home. And he fought for our kids, and he fought for everybody. He even fought for me, not that I need someone to fight for me, but thank you anyway. You know, and I just think that a few board meetings ago, I mentioned that while we're doing great things and moving forward, we still have some naysayers in the midst of us. And it's important that we focus on moving forward. And I think Mr. Green did a great job in handling the situation, dealing with it, and we're still moving forward. And that don't mean the naysayers are going to go away, but I think for right now, they have tucked their tails between their legs and they're running. And I just want to say to Mr. Green, thank you very much for representing the school district, representing the taxpayers and the parents and the students, and doing a well job of representing our board. You know, you are to be applauded, and we're very glad to have you. And you're not going anywhere soon, because we're not going to let you go. We're going to hold you hostage if we have to. We have Greg tase you if we have to. So thank you so very much, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any other public comments, Mr. President?
That's all we have, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you. And then we'll go down to the minutes. The minutes from the February 14th meeting. The recommendation to approve those.
I have a question. Or a comment about something. But first, I do want to commend Ms. Frank for her work in the minutes. They were very detailed. But over where, on page 3, and I know she stated it the way it occurred, that Mr. Cunningham made a motion to approve the minutes with corrections. There were no corrections. Or did I miss something?
I think there were thought to be corrections, and then there weren't, after all was said and done. There were thoughts that there were going to be some, I think was the discussions that there were going to be. So, and then I think at the end, decided that there really weren't any. We just let them go as they were.
I guess, Madam Chair, and I've expressed this concern before, that the minutes are our legal document, and when you, myself, and whoever else is no longer on the board, this is what people will go back and look at, and we need to make sure that they are accurate. So, if it pleases the board, I don't know how we fix it, but it's not accurate. Yeah, you put what he made, but it's just that it's not accurate.
When at those minutes that you'd made comments that there were several things that needed to be corrected, and Madam Chair made a comment that you make the corrections, but everybody, and I made a statement that it went on to be approved anyway. and you didn't make the corrections,
Correct.
you know, so, and I said, well, I suggest that we wait till the corrections will make it made and then vote on it.
Right, so let's get past this. So we can just remove with corrections. Mr. Cunningham made a motion to put, we can remove with corrections and we're good.
How can we vote on something that's not, that you don't know was being corrected?
That's what we're doing right now. We're getting ready to vote on it with that removed.
Are we gonna stay with the correction was?
Yeah, with corrections removed.
And weren't you gonna make corrections to it?
But I had said in here that night that I wasn't
Oh,
gonna do it, but, Ms. Brown went back. Did you go back on to Ms. Brown? And,
I watched the DVD, and Mr. Miller, said he agreed with Ms. McDaniel, and that, if there are corrections that need to be made, the correction should be made. And then the board voted, and you asked Ms. McDaniel to email you her corrections, and she said she really didn't have the time, but nobody ever said take the correction to approve the minutes with corrections. And so that's why I put Mr. Cunningham said to approve the minutes with corrections.
so I guess whenever we approve them, we need to approve them with the correction to this set, which would be that there were no corrections made at the meeting.
Right, okay. So we'll take that as a motion. I'll entertain that motion to approve these minutes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the minute as amended
are you talking about these?
By
Well, he's making a motion.
by removing the,
She already told us that there's a machine.
you didn't say move?
No, I didn't hear you say it. State it as a motion. Go ahead and repeat that as a motion, Mr. McDaniel.
I move that we, approve the minutes of the February 18th meeting.
Yeah, I have.
Let her finish,
Okay,
please.
I'm sorry.
With the correction that when we approved the minutes, we adopted the minutes for January 21st, there were no corrections stated at the meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, now, I'd like to make a comment on, are we going on to the minutes for February?
That's the minutes we're talking about.
Okay. Where you called me out of order, you wrote on there, ruled out of order. I wasn't ruled out of order till the end of the statement, and I didn't get, and you did, my statement is not correct. My statement should have been, I would like to be put on the record that I do not agree with the board members going extra days to conferences, and we have one doing that, and then that was when you called me out of order.
I did, and I will get ready to do it again. Isn't that what happened?
No, you didn't let me, you didn't put it, what I wanted on the record.
Okay. But you were ruled out of order prior to it going on the record. So,
So you're saying it's not going on the record?
that's correct. You were ruled out of order prior to it going on the record.
Okay, how come other board members can put things on the record and I can't?
I don't know. You got ruled out of order before it went on the record.
No, it did not. You ruled me out at the end
Okay,
of it.
it's time to call for the question. This is the minutes. This is ridiculous.
And that's why it should be in the minutes.
But Madam Chair, if she's requesting something go in the minutes for, as a minority report, I don't think we have the right to say that it can't go in there. I mean, if she made the statement, it should be in there, and it should be in there accurately.
Well, once it was ruled out of order, then it would have stopped at that point.
But that was at the last ending, not at the beginning of the ending.
Okay,
The beginning it was not,
okay.
Madam
Go
Chair,
ahead.
if I could make an observation, I think it may be beneficial if we could get some direction maybe from the School Board Association in terms of what is necessary as it relates to maintaining minutes. If our expectation is that Ms. Brown act as a stenographer, I think that's a bit unrealistic. I don't think the expectation is and should be that she is able to record things verbatim in a school board meeting. Now, if we want verbatim then we need to invest in a stenographer. So I mean, you know, and if that is the expectation of the board, then so be it. But I think we need to get some clarification, because if our expectation is that she is going to be able to record things word for word, I don't think that's realistic.
Madam Chair, there's a difference in the minutes being recorded word for word and a board member requesting, for whatever reason, that they would like a certain statement going around. And we don't need the School Board Association to, with all due respect, Mr. Green, we don't need the School Board Association to micromanage or whatever you want to call it to us to that respect. If a board member requests that something is put in the minutes, then we are supposed to make sure that it goes in the minutes. And as far as everything else, I think we've said over and over and over again, what goes in the minutes is any motions that the board make, any request for information, and any pertinent information that was or has been provided to the board. Now, up until we got these minutes, the minutes that we were getting were very, very, very vague. And we've had lawsuits and the minutes that have been pulled, there have been issues because the minutes didn't contain all of the information. So, I'm going to amend my motion that we accept the minutes with the correction which states that the motion for the January 21st minutes was approved with corrections, that there were no corrections, and that we correctly insert Ms. Hartman's statement that she requested to be placed on the record.
All right, Ms. Hartman, then you'll email me that
Madam Chair,
statement?
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry,
Hold on,
excuse me.
We got a
Yeah, we got-
motion and a second. I think we got to vote on that
Yeah.
before we're amending the motion.
No, she take the amendment first. She take the amendment first. So she got to vote on the
Well,
amendment. She
I'm
come back
making
to
a
the
point
main
of
motion.
order. I mean, if we're going to drag out the minutes, I'm making a point of order that we've got a motion and a second. We've got to vote on that first. That's why.
That's not the way Robert's rules work. If an amendment comes to a motion that's already on the floor, then if that amendment gets seconded, you take the amendment first. And then once that amendment is put to rest, then you move to the main motion.
That's my understanding
Okay.
as well. So is there a second to Ms. McDaniel's amendment?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All right, so we will vote on the amendment.
What is the amendment?
I'm
The
just
amendment, you want me to repeat it?
ask you to restate that.
Okay, thank you. The amendment is that we accept the minutes with the correction that when we approved the minutes for January 21st, that there were no corrections made, that's sentences put correctly, and that we accept Ms. Hartman's statement the way she made it because she asked for it to be put on the record.
All those in favor of the amendment? Go ahead, I'm
Point of
sorry.
order. Did it read that like that? Because I want to make sure. Did it read that? Was that stated, or was it the chair ruled out of order? How was this done?
As Ms. Hartman was giving her statement, Ms. Reed called it out of order. She kept on talking, Ms. Reed continued to hit the gavel, say you're out of
It's
order.
out of order.
The
Ms.
entire
Reed says it's
time
out of order.
she said-
She's the board chair. She get it. It's out of order. Therefore, that doesn't go in there.
But
It's
Mr.
out of
Miller,
order.
you can't call a person out of order when they're asking for something to be placed on the record.
The
That's
chair
an abuse of
has
power.
the chair has the authority. Once she hit that what the Robert rules were, once she hit that gamblet right there and rule you out of order, you are out of order.
But
I don't care
she
who it
can't,
is.
she can't rule you out
That's
of
it,
order
she's
or
the
not out of
chair.
order.
That's fine. The chair rules you out of order.
I'm saying, why does, the other.
I can't say that. I'm telling you, the chair rules out of order. So it's out of order.
But she can't rule you out of order, Mr. Miller, if you're really not out of order. When she hit it out of order, she has to really be right that it's out of order. She can't do it just because. I mean, four of y'all can sit there and vote for that and support it, but it's not right.
We're gonna go by what is.
Robert's rules. All right, so we will bring this to a vote. All those in favor of the amendment stated by Ms. McDaniel and seconded by Ms. Hartman, signify by raising your right hand. That's 2. Opposed? 4. Thank you. So we'll be back to the original motion. Ms. McDaniel to accept the minutes with the lack of correction. Mr. Frick has seconded that. Is that stated correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Those in favor of approving the minutes from the February 18th meeting, signify by raising your right hand. We got 4 opposed, 2. Thank you. Finally, pass that.
And Madam Chair, I want to state for the record, and I want it in the record, that if we're going to work together as a board, we need to make sure that we're following rules and we're following orders appropriately, and that it is not the chair's discretion to call people out of order unless they are really and truly out of order. And I want that in the minutes of Ms. Brown verbatim as I stated them, please, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Move on to the superintendent's report.
I had
Let's
also
move on.
requested that to be on policy, which, how we get things on agenda. We as a board need to know that.
We're gonna move on the agenda.
All right, first thing, Madam Chair, members of the board, in your possession, you have the monthly newsletter. Once again, it is an outstanding document, really outlining all the wonderful things that are going on in the school district. You note that we have the first class of the Fairfield County School District Hall of Fame. We're very excited about that. Looking forward.
Clap my hand on that one.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to the induction ceremony, and as you see, it is a very stellar cast of people who just made outstanding contributions. Also, I want to bring your attention to some legislation that was recently passed. Governor Haley signed into law H 4576, the snow day legislation. This was a joint resolution that allowed local school boards to waive up to 5 days missed due to inclement weather. The district must exhaust all statutorily required makeup days remaining on the calendar before it may exempt any of the 5 days allowed under the joint resolution. In essence, what will happen is we've already made up February 17th, which is one of our 3 statutorily required days. We will have to make up 2 of the remaining 3 days. As you note on the calendar, the makeup days that remain on the calendar are June 3rd, June 4th, and June 5th. I'll be making a recommendation to the board that we make up June 3rd and June 4th, moving June 5th to a teacher work day, and asking the board to waive the makeup days on February 12th and February 13th. Any questions about that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Gray, Madam Chair.
Sure.
I thought that graduation was May 31st.
Yeah, it is.
So we're gonna be, after graduation, we're gonna be making up days?
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be able to see.
Well, the kids need to go to school, my understanding is so many days to school. Fine.
I was thinking that before graduation, you ain't gonna get much. I don't know how much you're gonna get.
Well, as you know, Ms. Miller, and the seniors, the seniors probably are the seniors there, as you may know them. However, it is a requirement that all underclassmen be there to make up those remaining days. And as a general rule, Mr. Miller, the seniors normally are dismissed a little earlier than underclassmen as a general rule.
So it doesn't affect that you're seniors is what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, my opinion as far as exempting any extra days, I feel like the kids should be in school to learn, so my vote is to not to extend. I mean, we need to do that.
Not make up. Okay. And of course, my recommendation is that the board votes not to waive any days, and we'll make up all the days.
Was that your recommendation?
Yes. Yeah, my recommendation is to waive 2 of the days.
Thought you just said none of the days.
He said that was what the board decided
Yeah, I
to
said,
do.
yeah, Ms. Hartman expressed her disapproval with my recommendation, and I said, well, that's the board's pleasure, that's fine, but that's not my recommendation.
Okay, I thought you said it would be your recommendation and not waive any of them.
So we gonna vote on this?
Yeah, we're gonna vote on that tonight. We have a motion from Mr. Cunningham to accept the superintendent's recommendation to make up the days except the 2 as stated.
Second.
Second from Mr. Frick. Any further discussion or questions?
Madam Chair, I have a question. On the agenda that goes out, if someone looks at the agenda, how do you know we voting on this tonight?
And it would be in the minutes.
That's after the fact. The agenda should be reflecting what we're voting on, so, if the community, and including the board, because I didn't know we was gonna be voting on this tonight.
You are correct, Ms. McDaniel. Since it was not listed as an action item, I would be fine to postpone this until next meeting. And finally, in your package, you notice that we have the Griffin Robotics team, who did very well in the regional competition down in Myrtle Beach, has an opportunity to go compete down in Florida. I am making a recommendation that the board approve the Griffin's robotic team to make the overnight field trip to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to compete in the robotics competition on April 3rd through the 5th. In addition, I am asking the board to approve an amount of $14,200.50 to help fund this trip.
Madam Chair, I'm going to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve funding for our Griffins to go to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with
Okay.
the robotics team.
All right, we've got two recommendations. Let's take the, let's approve them to go first, and then approve the funding. How about that?
I approve them to go to the robotics competition.
Since it's an overnight field trip, then we have to approve that first, okay? So,
Okay.
there's a, is that how you'd like to make that motion?
No, that's fine, I'm okay with that, I just, when we do the agenda, if we could just make sure we get this stuff.
Well, that's what I'm doing, going
Yeah.
right there, action number 1, approve the overnight field trip.
Okay.
That's where I am.
You make the motion? Okay, so I second that.
All right, Ms. Hartman's made the motion, Ms. McDaniel has seconded. Discussion or questions?
Let's open up trip.
This is approving the trip. All those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation to approve the Griffin Robotics out-of-state trip for April 3, 4, and 5, signify by raising your right hand. Thank you, 6-0. And then the next action item on that one?
Madam Chair, move that we approve the funding for the robotics trip.
Thank you, Ms. McDaniel. Our second?
So,
Okay, Ms. Hartman, any discussion or questions on that?
And I do have some questions. On the, transportation. That's taking just the regular yellow bus?
No, ma'am, I think they may be chartering the buses.
Okay, because they have school bus on here,
You did, I seen it.
so it should be charter bus? Okay.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure about the bus, so, but I'm thinking it's charter bus.
We don't see
I
the
doubt
charter
it
bus,
was
right,
the
because I
yellow.
can't see that yellow bus going in.
No, yeah, you're right. Let's get Charlie. Send the kids. Madam,
I have one more, Mr.
okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and how many students?
I think there are 28 students in all the robotic team.
Okay, and how many chaperones?
I've not seen the number of chaperones. Mr.
Okay. But they will be included in this, funding
Yes.
request, right? All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm sure this, before we vote, because I'm definitely gonna vote for it, but I had a chance to, ride down to, Myrtle Beach to see all the robotics team. So,
They beat
you would have been proud, that's all I can tell you.
You hear me, they beat you?
Huh?
They beat you?
Yeah, whoop Keith, I don't wanna call all these schools out that we whooped. We whooped a bunch of them. We whooped everything in the middle. Understand me? At one time, we were number 6. I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and I'm telling you that Friday, they tore the robot up. You know, because they had to shoot it through this little thing, and they tore it up. And I said, Lord, they worked on that thing all night long. We talking about our children now. They worked on that thing all night long. Other thing I want to say, I was over at the hotel, and the manager name is Miss Donna. She said, you will not get a better set of children behaving. I'm telling you now, Fairfield County children, they know how to behave. You know, and when you get to that age, you know, they can be jumping and beating on the walls and all that. We didn't have that. So I'm gonna say again, we got something special here, and I'm proud of it. Thank you. Now we can vote.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any other points anyone wants to make on that? We are certainly proud of that Griffin Robotics team. All those in favor of the recommendation to fund the truck to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, please signify by raising your right hand. 6-0, thank you. And we'll move on.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Green. Tonight I'm going to present a very short overview of the Advanced Ed Systems Accreditation process. As you all may be aware, in February 2013, we became a candidate for systems accreditation. And this process examines our whole school district, our whole school system as a whole, examining the programs, our cultural context, classroom instruction, and stakeholder perceptions to determine how all of these things work together. Now, the Advanced Ed process is a voluntary method that school districts and school systems partake in to ensure that they meet the Advanced Ed quality insurance standards. Now, this process was developed over 100 years ago, and it's designed to distinguish schools and school districts who are adhering to the set of rigorous standards that Advanced Ed has adopted. Now, the institution seeking accreditation must participate in an external review, and this is conducted by an external review team that comes into the school district, spends about 3 days with the school district to really get into what we as a school system are doing to meet the needs of our students. Now, the accreditation process takes place every 5 years, but that is only, the 5 years is when this team actually comes in to actually examine our practices and our processes. But one major two words that I want you to remember throughout this presentation is that we are striving for continuous improvement. So we're constantly moving from being ordinary to extraordinary to ensure that we meet the rigorous standards of Advanced Ed. Now, in order to gain or retain the accreditation standards that Advanced Ed has adopted, you must meet the Advanced Ed standards. Now, there are 5 standards. The first standard is purpose and direction, and purpose and direction focuses on how the system maintains and communicates the purpose and direction at all levels of the organization. So we want to make sure all of our stakeholders are aware of what our purpose and what direction we are headed. The second piece that you all are extremely a big piece of this particular one, so make sure you circle number 2, is governance and leadership. And this simply states that our system operates under governance and leadership that promotes and supports student performance and system effectiveness. So we want to make sure that the governance and leadership supports true system effectiveness. And then the third piece, or the third standard, is teaching and assessing for learning. And this involves the system's curriculum, instructional design, and assessment practices. And we want to make sure that our assessment practices help guide teacher effectiveness and student learning across all grade levels and all content areas. And then the fourth piece is the resources and support systems. And we want to make sure that we place the resources that we have, we make sure that we provide the support in order for it to help move our purpose and direction forward. And lastly, user results for continuous improvement. We want to make sure as a school system that we have a comprehensive assessment system that generates a range of data. Now, as you're aware of, we have several pieces of assessment tools or several assessment tools that we utilize. We have MAP, we have our anonymous assessment data, we have classroom assessment data, we have PATH, we have ASAP. So we want to use all of these pieces of the data to really get a comprehensive picture of where our school district is going, and it is truly meeting the individual needs of our students. And we want to use these results for continuous improvement, continuous growth, and continually working to make our school system better for each of our students. Now, before the visit takes place, we have to basically self-examine ourselves. We have to look at each other and say, okay, are we truly doing what advanced ed expects us to do based upon the standards that they have laid out? Now, each of you, on last week, an email was sent out, and you should have gotten a self-assessment workbook. Now, Ms. Reed has standard 2 that should be already at your seat. So does everyone have a copy of the standard number 2?
I have.
Okay.
This is just the part that we have to focus on. I'm just trying to keep it.
Now, before the external review team, before they actually come and visit, we have to self-evaluate ourselves. We have to say, yes, we meet this high rigorous standard, we're almost there, or we haven't made it, but what are the things that we're going to do to get better? To, again, moving from ordinary to extraordinary. So that's what this self-assessment piece is all about. Now, your role as board members, the governance and leadership piece really focuses around your efforts to support teaching and learning in our school district. So, Ms. Brown, can you go ahead and switch to standard number 2? Go to the 3rd tab. And scroll down to standard number 2. Go up a little bit more. Okay, right there. All right, now standard number 2, the system operates under governance and leadership that promote and support student performance and system effectiveness. So that standard is the broad title of that entire standard of governance and leadership. Now, this standard number 2 has 6 indicators, which are basically best practices and processes that advanced ed, when they come in, they're going to assess us and determine whether or not we are a level 1, a level 3, a level 2, or a level 1. Now, if you notice that I've already highlighted some key verbs or some key language. So if you notice level 4, I highlighted clearly and directly support the system's purpose. But then if you scan down to level 1, I highlighted little connection exists between policies and practices of the governing board. So from what you know, what I want you to do is to kind of think about, are we a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, a level 4? But I want you to reflect upon that based upon where we are today, March 18th, and do we have evidence to support where we are related to this particular standard? Now, if you notice where it says possible evidence, we have our governing body policies, procedures, and practices, our school system operation manuals, our professional development plans. These are possible artifacts that could help support this particular indicator. Now, I'm going to pause for just a second because I've talked a lot. So if you had to assess us now, I want you to circle whether you think that we are at a level 4, a level 3, a level 2, or a level 1, based upon what you know of our school district at this point.
Madam Chair, I have a question, please. Okay, Ms. Dr. Edwards, in reviewing the various levels, one would believe that the evidences listed will tell you that you are at level 1, 2, 3, 4, as I think you stated. My concern is you can have all these evidences that are listed, noted evidences, it's probably not word, but you have them all listed. But if you are not taking these documents and all the board members are not knowledgeable of them and making sure that we're using them based on their existence, then what level do you recommend? And the reason I say that is, I don't wanna go through this so we can have another stamp. And for the people who don't know, advanced ed is really SACS. It's another name for SACS. And I've already been through what they can do in the district. So if we're not gonna use this to help make the district better, then I don't care to go through it. But if I'm going through it, I wanna be able to answer the questions in such a manner that whoever's reviewing us will come in to help us get to where we need to be. Because I'm a believer of, if you don't admit where you are, and you don't accept the reality, then you can't correct, and you can't improve, and you can't grow from there.
And Ms. McDaniel, your point is well taken, and the one thing that we have stressed to both our principals and to all of the stakeholders is that we do not want this to be more of a compliance, let's just check it off and say that we've done it, versus we want it to be more of a commitment to becoming better.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you that if we are rating each other a level 1, at this time, we're having honest dialogue to say, yes, we are a level 1. Now, but why are we a level 1? What's preventing us from getting to a level 3? So to answer your question, this is not going to be a fruitless process, meaning we're just going to check it just to say we have done it. The goal is for us is to realize, okay, this is where we are right now on March 18th. But by tomorrow on March 19th, this is what we're going to do as a result of this. Like, I'll give you an example. When I looked at one of the indicators, it stated, and I think it's on Action Standard 2, if you look at the possible evidence, communications to stakeholder about policy revisions. Now, we just had 3 policy revisions that have just been done. So I immediately said, well, how did we communicate these policy changes to the community? So then one action that I'm now going to take is then I'm going to ask our PR person to now post those revisions, those new policies prominently on our website. Then in addition to that, to the board website, there's going to be a clear area delineating where those policies, the new policies have been now uploaded and updated. So the bottom line is that we're not doing this just to say we've checked it off. We're actually doing the work behind the scenes so that we may recognize now that we're a 1, but by the time that advanced ed comes in and beyond advanced ed, we're going to be right where we need to be. So does that help answer your
Oh,
question?
yeah, that answers great for the administrative side. But now, Madam Chair, as it relates to the board side, and us making sure that we understand and we know the policies, are we gonna have something in place, making sure, I don't know, we were supposed to have a second retreat, I think, were we not? We didn't do that.
A budget work session, but
Yeah.
what I think what I would take from this exercise is that this is yours, your own. Okay, we're not submitting this to her as a whole. We're submitting to her as stakeholders, one individual. This is how I perceive this today. Okay, and then this is the evidence that I know exists. So we don't have to be on the same plane.
And I'm not requesting that we be, and I'm not inferring that we be on the same plane. My question is, if this is where we are, and if I'm not mistaken, advanced ed, formerly SACS, is supposed to come in and make sure that the things that we are saying, that we're actually doing, as Dr. Edwards just stated.
Sure.
So one of the issues problems that we've had as a board is we don't always really know our policies and our governing role. So what I'm asking is there going to be an opportunity for us to do the same thing that they're doing to try to enhance what they do based on this process? So we as board members, are we going to try to do the same thing to help make us better?
Well, and to add to that, I think we're going to talk about later that contract for revision and review of our policies. So that's a step in that direction.
And I have some words on that when we get there, but anyway. Okay. As long as we're going to work, as long as we.
I mean, that's what we're
committed to
doing what we
working
can
forward.
do. I think that's the step that we can take as a board is to have someone come in and review our policies. And then we review them with them, make changes or not.
Noting that, I hope you saw in the contract where they only going to look at federal, state, local regulations.
Right.
They're not going to look at things that we're doing operationally. Those are the things that we as board members would need to do and come to some kind of consensus on within the policies. But anyway, thank you, ma'am.
So are there any more questions as it relates to this one particular standard that I've used as an example? So we, district level stakeholders, as far as school leaders and district level leaders, even our maintenance director, our bus driver, our food service, all of us have begun the process of looking through our self-assessment to determine where we are. Because the bottom line is with the school system accreditation or systems accreditation, we are all interdependent upon each other. We all have to speak the same language. We have to have the shared language. Because if Mr. Miller is interviewed by the advanced ed team, and then Ms. Hartman is interviewed by the advanced ed team, we all may say it in different ways, but we all have to be singing from the same sheet of music. Does that kind of make sense? All right. So let's move on, Javonda. So what if you could, before you leave this evening, if you could take some time to review the document, go through each of the indicators, 2.1 through 2.6, and then circle where you believe we are as it relates to each of the indicators, whether you believe we are a standard 4, a level 4, a level 3, a level 2, or a level 1. And then your perceptions will then be averaged in with the perceptions of both the school level leaders and the district level leaders. So then we will have an actual composite average on where we are. And then if you have suggestions or notes of other evidence that's not listed here, you can include that as well. Okay? Now, another piece of the internal review is that we have to submit an executive summary. That executive summary basically is our story. It's the celebrations that we have going on in our individual schools, in our district, what are our possible challenges. And then we respond to the things in here that we rated low. We then respond to that in this executive session. So we tell advanced ed, the evaluators up front, this is the area where we've noticed that this is a challenge for us, but this in turn is what we're going to do to ensure that this challenge is addressed. The third piece is student performance data. We have to upload to a secured web portal our student performance data. So again, they get an opportunity to look at our student data as it relates to PASS and as it relates to HSAP. And then lastly, stakeholder feedback. In April, we will be sending out an online survey to our stakeholders and to our parents, again, to gauge perception data. We will send that perception survey out again in right before the visit in December, likely around September, to get additional data. So these are all the things that we're going to be doing prior to the actual external review team visit.
Madam Chair, how are we going to select the folk that we're going to send the survey out to?
Actually, the survey is going to be sent out to everyone, meaning it'll be posted on the internet, online. The survey also is going to be, a letter will be sent to the parents with the link itself. So it'll be sent to everyone. Now here's our advanced ed timeline. As I shared, we are now beginning the self-assessment conduct. Our self-assessment is being conducted. March through September 2014, our advanced ed surveys will be administered to all the stakeholders. Now the key piece of this, where you all come into play, your board involvement, remember in April 30th, we have to submit to you for approval our annual district strategic plan update and our school renewal plan update. So that in turn, that document is uploaded for the external review team to review to see, first of all, if we're meeting the goals that we say that we have outlined. And again, as I mentioned earlier, to make sure we have common goals, that shared language should be articulated through the whole entire system. And then June to July, we're going to be looking at our student performance data to basically determine where we are at this point, and we'll upload that information to the online web portal as well. Now the advanced timeline, in October 2014 to November 2014, we have to submit our final self-assessment. So Ms. McDaniel, going back to your earlier statement, if we find in March based on this particular standard that we're level 1. If by November we find that we have done everything that we need to do, then we can increase our rate, okay? So we then finalize our executive summary, our demographics, which gives a picture of our school. We make final preparations for the arrival of the team. We make sure we secure their hotel. We make sure that we have directions listed for them to get from one place to another, transportation, things of that nature. And then the external review team will arrive. They will arrive and spend from December 7th through December 10th, 2014, visiting our schools, interviewing you, our stakeholders, and also they will make classroom visits. Now, they will spend approximately 20 minutes in selected classrooms, and depending upon the wishes or the wishes of the lead chairperson along with the superintendent and the principal will then decide which classrooms are likely to be visited. And again, it's a 20-minute snapshot, but they're not looking at the teacher. They're focusing more on the student interaction and making sure that the student interaction for the students is at the maximum level. Now, on December 10, 2014, you can put this on your calendar, there will be an exit report. And during this time, the external review team will in fact give a report to the community, to you here in this room on December the 10th, sharing with us their findings during their visit. So they'll give us a preliminary report with some commendations, some of the positive things, and then they'll give us some required action, some things that we have to make sure we do as we're striving toward continuous improvement over the course of the next 5 years that they would like to see when they return in year 2019. And one thing I want to mention is that the team is composed of 3 to 5 members. The chair of the team is from out of state. The second person, who's the associate lead, is from in-state. And then the other remaining members are a combination of both in-state and out-of-state. Now, I can tell you that the individuals coming in have to go through training to actually serve on the team. So the people coming in, the educators coming in are qualified and trained and endorsed by Advanced Ed to come into our school district to basically rate us as it relates to the Advanced Ed standards. Now, going back to your involvement, we want to make sure that you are familiar and you review all the quality standards and indicators. We want to make sure that we would like for you to be available to participate in the interviews with the external review team. And then lastly, and this is not limited, so Ms. McDaniel, don't hold me to these 3 bullet points. We want you to make sure that you submit your ratings because we want your input. Because again, we're striving for continuous improvement, so please make sure you submit to Ms. Reed your perceptions and your ratings for the standard 2 governance and leadership. Are there any questions?
Well, that's cool. Who's the executive director for Advanced Ed now? Is it still Dr. Floyd?
No, Daryl Behringer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards.
Dr. Elf, fundraising request
Okay.
is yours.
They have submitted a fundraiser request to help offset the cost of their field experience. And they have submitted a request to do a Fats Cafe Pancake fundraiser breakfast. And they would like to sell some spirit cups and popcorn to help offset the cost related to the field experience.
Madam Chair.
Okay, the superintendent recommends that we approve that.
And,
Is that a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted. All right, Mr. Miller has made the motion.
Second.
Mr. Fred has seconded. Questions or discussion?
Madam Chair, I have two questions. We approved money for, the course and,
Drama.
yes, to go on their trips. And if and I can't see it now, but in reviewing the, request, this is part of the, what's the name of that program?
Star?
Star Academy. So, why are we having them go out and do all these fundraisers?
I can answer that, Mr. McDaniel. It's not a matter of the district having them go out and do fundraising. Dr. Timberland and I agreed that she wanted students and parents to be invested in this opportunity. In lieu of just having the district foot the entire bill for the cost of the trip, she felt it would be a good experience for students to invest some time raising money. I am in contact with Dr. Timberland. She will eventually come to me, and I will eventually come to you with a recommendation to provide some funding. But we're not at that point yet, Ms. McDaniel. And I guess we could have said students don't have to worry about raising any money, and then I could have brought the entire cost to you. But that's not what I plan to do, and that's not what Dr. Timberland recommended I do. So that's why we're handling it the way we are. Very similar to what we did with the drama, very similar to what we did with the chorus. Both of them raised about half of the cost of those expenses, and I made a recommendation that the board fund the other half.
Is it possible, Madam Chair, Mr. Green, if they would consider, and I'm not asking if don't approve them, that we go ahead and approve them, but for the future, that the fundraisers consist of something other than going door to door, trying to raise money? You know, you're trying to go to, what are you trying to go to Puerto Rico? And you going door to door trying to sell donuts to go to Puerto Rico versus maybe having a basketball game or something where the community can come in and they can raise, you know, much more. With the kind of money that comes in this district, and it's one of my soapboxes, it's just not good to have our children run around and trying to sell stuff, and then we know the situations that some of them are in. And then we having them try to sell stuff and hold on to money to bring to school and turn in, and it just could cause unnecessary problems when it doesn't have to be. So, I'm just asking that when they have the fundraiser, if the fundraiser could be something other than going asking people to, I mean, you got churches trying to sell stuff, you got this grade trying to sell stuff, you got this grade trying to sell stuff, and people go to work and people come, you buy something for my child for this, for that. People pay taxes, they do a lot of other stuff. So we could just do something more that could bring in the money that don't require kids to be running, I call it door to door, but it's basically daily.
Well, I don't necessarily describe it as begging, Mr. McDaniel. I guess I've participated in many fundraisers over my years with my own personal daughters. I mean, I would say I don't think most of the kids, as you illustrated earlier, actually go door to door. I mean, like, for example, these two fundraisers, one is a pancake breakfast or something of that nature at Fats, and I guess the other is selling these mugs or cups. You know, probably primarily what happens is people tend to solicit from their family members and maybe church members and other individuals that are part of their circle. Very similar to what I would do with my children. I'd solicit from their grandparents and uncles and aunts and neighbors. I'll just say this, Mr. McDaniel, I'll take that into consideration, your recommendation about fundraising. I generally don't try and direct individuals in terms of what fundraisers to embark upon. And I give a perfect example. My daughter's a cheerleader, and one of the things that they were talking about doing to raise money for uniforms on next year was selling popcorn. I didn't necessarily have an opinion on that, but if they got excited about selling popcorn and the advisor felt it was something good to do, then I would support that. So we don't generally get as involved, Ms. McDaniel, as one may think in terms of directing fundraisers, but I will make your concerns known.
Thank you. How much money are you talking about?
For the entire trip, the entire trip was about $20,000. At this point, my last conversation with Dr. Timmer, they've already raised about $7,000. So I think this is really the last series of fundraisers that they'll do, and so just for pay, I'll be coming to the board asking $10,000.
I'm ready for you.
You ready for me to come now?
I mean, just the other thing on there is, most of the fundraising is being done by the bookkeeper. So if she's doing it outside of regular time, I mean, we could have a Fair Labor Standards Act issue. So we need to make sure that even if she's working on that because she's doing it for the school, she needs to be getting paid for any time that she's put in doing that. So
Outside of the regular school hours?
Yeah.
I wouldn't commit to that, that she was working outside of her regular school hours, but I would look into that.
Just in case, she may not be.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
Any
you, sir.
further discussion?
The other ones that we approved, those particular programs, they were acting like the acting class, but they were doing a program in those programs, right?
What do you mean a program?
The one that is going to,
New York,
New
drama
York
program?
and Florida.
Yes.
Weren't they supposed to be in a particular program when they went there?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
I thought so, I just wanted to confirm that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. The motion is to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the fundraiser for Gordon Odyssey Academy to offset costs related to the field trip to Puerto Rico. All those in favor of continuing the fundraising, signify by raising your right hand. No opposition, 6-0.
Madam Chair, did you approve that trip? Yes. At some point? Okay.
Back in the fall.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Can I say this right here?
Yeah, I remember that.
Businesses are real good about this too, you know, we go to different businesses and that, you know, that we can, I know that the drama club, they went to, you know, some different businesses and, they helped them out, so I just throw that out.
Well, if I may add, and I have said this before, Mr. Miller, I think there's a certain value in terms of giving students the opportunity to work towards something. I mean, I think it really does a lot to help establish a work ethic. And so for that alone, I support students having a little skin in the game, for lack of a better word, and showing that they're really invested in trying to make it happen. I'll tell you, when I spoke with students at the middle school, and even though the board contributed half of the funding, you'd be amazed at how appreciative they were for that half of the funding. And quite frankly, I think they are even more appreciative of that half than they would have been had you given them the entire thing, because they put in some work to get to that point. So I'm always a proponent of giving students an opportunity to work towards achieving a goal, because I think it builds a certain amount of character and work ethic.
And Mr. Green, Madam Chair, I don't want you to be mistaken. Now, I do expect for them to have some skin in the game. I just don't like the students going around, would you buy this little thing, would you buy this little thing, versus a car wash, or like I said, basketball game or something where people come in their game is something versus the children going out. Because I get sick and tired of folk coming to me at work, want me to buy this, and buy this, and buy this, and buy this. You know, I just rather give you donations, especially if you're gonna collect 20% off of what you sell, or 30%, and who's really making the big money. So that was the main reason I was expressing it, not because I don't think the children should have a vested interest. I just don't like the donuts and the candy and that kind of stuff.
We move on to the contractual matter, the think date non-renewal resolution.
In July 2012, we obtained the services of ThinkGate to provide software services to aid in the administration and creation of our classroom and district assessments. The software provided by ThinkGate has demonstrated several technical issues and has proven to be unreliable as an assessment delivery tool for our school district. As a result, we have elected to not to renew the software contract that we had with ThinkGate. We had a 3-year agreement with them, and we are currently in the 2nd year. And because of the unreliability of the software, we have elected not to continue with them after this current academic school year. The resolution is required for this particular item because in their software agreement, we must articulate or have a majority vote on record to basically demonstrate that we in fact are not going to renew the contract with ThinkGate.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, I move we accept the recommendation of Dr. Evans to cancel this contract with HP so mentioned.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cunningham, for the motion. Second.
I second that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Miller. Any discussion or questions?
I have one question, Madam Chair. What is it that we can do differently so that we don't end up in this situation again, or is there anything that you guys got out of the experience?
Well, you know, Mr. Daniel, when you meet with vendors, you review a product, they make multiple promises, you try and do your due diligence to determine whether they are open and honest about what they can deliver. You know, I think you try your best to discern whether people can really deliver what they say, and you kind of win some and lose some. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. Unfortunately, we were wrong on this particular instance. You know, what I'll say is we'll evaluate even further. We'll be even more skeptical and scrutinize and do our best not to contract out with people who can't deliver on what they say they will.
Okay, so we're gonna finish this year out with them, and then we're gonna do something different next year. We've already
Yeah. At this point in time, we've already transitioned to another tool.
Okay.
So we're just seeking to cut our ties with ThinkGate at this point.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation, signify by raising of the right hand. Got 6. Ms. Brown? All right. Move on.
The 4th item is a draft of the 2014-15 academic calendar. And this calendar was developed in collaboration with a calendar committee composed of district leadership, and we developed 2 calendars for consideration. The calendars were sent to district employees and stakeholders in February and were reviewed by building level administrators for input and feedback. We had approximately 300, we did a calendar poll, and it was sent out to all district level employees and stakeholders, and we had approximately 300 votes, along with feedback, were submitted online. Then the results revealed overwhelmingly support for calendar A. However, through further feedback, through a focus meeting that was held, we went back to the drawing board and we formulated a calendar C. And the calendar C, which is included in your board docs, has elements from calendar A and calendar B to include, but are not limited to, the first day of school will be August the 18th, spring break will be March the 30th and April 30th. And that was selected because HSAP for next school year, spring of 2015, it will be prohibitive for us to schedule spring break because HSAP on the calendar falls or begins on April 14th through the 16th. So if we were to have our spring break April 6th through the 10th, then the students would come back on April 13th and then would immediately have to begin HSAP. So we did not want that to be the issue. So to avoid that, we scheduled the spring break from March the 30th through April the 3rd. Quarter 2 exams, this is a change from previous years. We have scheduled our quarter 2 exams prior to the winter break. That was one level of feedback that we received that was pretty much synonymous with a lot of what some of the feedback we received from classroom teachers and administrators. And then we also added to the calendar delayed start time for professional development for our certified staff, but also for our classified staff. One of the things that in the discussions that we realized is that our classified employees as well wanted opportunities to have professional development as well, and they should have that opportunity. So we built in delayed start times, for 2-hour delayed start time, one per quarter, which are outlined October the 2nd, December the 4th, February 26th, and April the 30th. Our makeup days have been included, are embedded into the calendar, which one day will be February 16th, which is the President's Day, March the 27th, and June the 4th. So we put one remaining makeup day at the end of the calendar on June the 4th. Are there any questions as it relates to the calendar?
Mr. Green, at one time, at one of the conferences, one of the schools somewhere, do you remember me mentioning to you that it had brought up the fact that they extended, like, having some of the, like, special ed teachers coming in 2 hours later, and then staying 2 hours later in the evening, after school to help students? Has that been considered in anything?
Just special ed teachers?
Well, the special ed, and I think they used, any type of teachers that were, specifically in need for like helping after school. That way we weren't paying them more, because they came in later. You follow me? Remember that?
They came in later and left later.
Right.
Yeah, that's not anything we consider, Ms. Hartman. I'll tell you one thing that I have bounced around, and let me back up a second. I mean, I think anytime you start talking about extending the school day, you get into a certain amount of instructional fatigue. And so the question is, at what point do you reach diminishing returns? You know, if a student stays at school from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock, then what's your level of effectiveness if he stays to 4 o'clock or to 5 o'clock? So that's the first question you ask. You know, is it really beneficial to have students stay later? I'll tell you one thing that I am bouncing around is the potential to looking at an extended school year, where students don't necessarily stay later, but they may actually attend school for a longer period of time, particularly for some of our sites that are experiencing some difficulties and we know have some severe challenges. So, you know, that is something that we're currently bouncing around, Ms. Hartman. You know, in the event that we decide to make that kind of a proposal, of course, that comes at a cost, because if teachers and instructional staff are actually work more than 190 days, then we have to fund that. So kind of akin to what you just referenced is something that we are considering. I've not gotten to the point where I'm willing to come to you with a proposal, but it's something that we are thinking about.
Right, that was part of the last conference.
Madam Chair, can she explain, can Dr. Edwards explain again these, the 2-hour delay and how they differ from the half days?
Well, the 2-hour delay, Ms. McDaniel, the teachers will report at their normally scheduled time, and the students will report, just like we did with the snow days, 2 hours later. Whereas on early release, we will dismiss at about 11:30 for some locations, and other locations will dismiss about 12 and 12:20.
If I can just add a little something to that, Ms. McDaniel, and this kind of speaks to what I spoke about with Ms. Hartman to a certain extent when we start talking about diminishing returns. But the point of the 2-hour delay is to allow time for collaborative planning. So you know, how do you create an opportunity where all of your 6th grade teachers can meet, and all of your math teachers, or all of your science teachers can meet? Well, you know, traditionally what people do is to say, well, you know, we can't meet during the day because you don't have common planning, so you meet at 3:30 or whatever time school ends. Well, very often teachers are tired, they're ready to go home, and aren't very, very engaged. So what many districts have done is to create opportunities where people can have those kind of collaborative opportunities during the school day. And so that's why we do the 2-hour late start, is because we can do that collaborative planning in the morning. Now, what we're also going to include in this initiative is for parents who have any kind of child care issues, where it's a problem that they have to bring a kid at 10 o'clock, we're going to have people who can watch those kids, say, between 8 and 10 o'clock. So we can still accommodate for those students and those parents that may have difficulties with childcare, in the morning hours.
Okay, so the students will still be able to come to school?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, did you consider doing the 2 hour delay, the 2 hour, whatever the opposite of delay is, doing it on the back end of the day instead of the front end of the day? Because it's easier when the parents work to get off early to come pick the children up versus being in late. And I'm just asking.
So you mean do a,
Early release.
dismissal instead of a late start? Let me explore that, Mr. McDaniel. I really, I didn't even think about that. I really haven't thought about that.
Okay. And I see the exams are before Christmas.
Yes.
Well, then
That's okay, that's okay. Mr.
No, I want to say something. I'm working with several superintendents in the Old English Consortium and sponsor some, when we get our local legislators to sponsor a bill that will give us the flexibility to start school before the third Monday in August. And so, the problem is you don't have a lot of flexibility in a calendar because you have to start school on a certain date and testing kind of falls during a certain time period. I was on the phone today talking to some people about that, and I think it's a subcommittee hearing on tomorrow. But if we have the flexibility, and I hope we're granted that flexibility, where we can potentially start school before the third Monday in August, then we can design a calendar where we never have that situation. But that whole third Monday was really crafted to add a little boost to our coastal areas, because they felt it would boost tourism. But the research has shown that it really hadn't boosted tourism. Because I think what has happened is kids may get out of school a little bit later, and therefore you just cut it off on one end. So kids don't go to school till later, but then they get out of school later. So it really hasn't had the benefit that we expected that it would have. But it's kind of I want to just add that point, that we do want to create an opportunity where we can ensure that the calendar falls and we don't have to give exams after we get back from holiday.
All right, thank y'all for that.
That's a good point.
All right, we will entertain a motion.
We'll get back to it.
Which one is the superintendent recommended?
Calendar C, the 14-15 is the only one on there.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the superintendent recommendation, right in a second.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Second.
Second, Mr. Fred. Thank you. Okay, further discussion, Ms. Hartman?
I just wanted to make a comment that, I thought it was good as far as they to have the exams before the holidays and then to have it after the holidays. We don't have that break in between.
Any other questions or discussion? Those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation to approve calendar C, signify by raising the right hand. All right, we got 6-0. We'll move on.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent. In your board packets this evening, you have the February 2014 finance report for your information and review.
Okay.
Also, in the board packets, you have a timeline of the bid process and approval process for the contract for the construction of the Career Center. And that's for your information.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion?
Finance report or on either one?
Either one.
On the schedule for the Center. Can we put that one back on the agenda for the next meeting?
I don't think it's an action item, Ms. McDaniel, I think it's just for information.
I know, but I had some questions, but I left my questions on.
You ask your president of Congress.
I know, that's me.
I know.
You like it?
Yeah.
Good.
That's probably not a bad attachment just to have until we work through that schedule, actually. It's probably good to have it. All right, we'll move on.
Well, Madam Chair, one other thing is the funding. Do we have like a drawdown of the money that was allocated, how we paying for this, and the finance structure that goes with the career center? That you share with us?
You talking in terms of how the contractors will draw down the money?
Well, and anything that's been paid thus far, we've not paid any?
Oh, we have expenses with all that.
Yeah, so we paying them out of,
Kevin, the speaker, will pay them out of.
We're paying them out of our, the first installment of the $4 million bond that was issued earlier this year. And so far, I can't remember right off the top of my head how much of the funds we've used, but we are anticipating having to issue another $4 million bond, I guess, in a couple of months for the next installment. But all of the funds so far that we've used have been from that initial $4 million general obligation bond.
okay, so how we paying for them?
How we
What are
paying for,
what are payments due? Yeah,
how we paying for,
the bonds.
that's paid for through the millage, debt millage. Correct.
Millage went up on taxes. What millage went up? That was county council, that was not school board. It was on school board. Please tell me that. We ain't vote for no taxes to go up.
We voted for the career center thing, it was anticipated taxes going from X number of mills to 31 to 33 mills. Yes, it did.
Not in the second year. And we even started yet.
That's what we did.
Where's that schedule? Where's the schedule?
What's scheduled?
With the payments for the career center and community taxes is supposed to be increased at what year, what point, what money that we're collecting?
Yeah, but I don't have that schedule. I mean, of course, the schedule was approved during, that was presented in the book.
Madam Chair, we need to see that, and we need to see when the millage went up, we need to see how much the millage was, we need to see how much money was generated and how much money was spent.
Taxes actually didn't go up overall, but it was balanced out, I think, as far as through other areas in the county. But the millage did go up, showing up on the reports that you got on the tax forms, showing that the school boards did go up.
And I wanna see our
If I saw
document.
it on my taxes, why not?
I wanna see our document, because I wanna make sure that we're no mistake, and I wanna make sure it went in the right place.
Go back and
I'm
research
thinking
that.
it was like 64 mils or something.
I thought if we was gonna be paying the architect, we was paying the architect out of that same $2 million that we've been issuing bonds for over and over and over. And we wasn't gonna issue the new bonds until we got ready to start building. Where can we get the document?
As soon as I can.
Like,
As soon as I can.
it's bedtime,
I will from that tomorrow.
please, sir.
All right, on to human resources.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For your approval this evening, I present the certified resignations and terminations.
Madam Chairman, that we accept the superintendent's recommendation regarding these certified resignations and terminations.
Thank you, Ms. McDaniel. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Hartman. Any discussion that we can't have? All those in favor of the motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation, please signify by raising of the right hand. We've got 5 at the moment. Thank you.
Next item for your approval are certified recommendations.
Madam Chair, I want to accept the superintendent recommendation of certified employee.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. All those in favor of accepting the motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the certified recommendations, signify by the raising of the right hand. Got 6. Thank you.
Last item for your approval this evening are administrative recommendations for school year 2014-15.
Madam Chair, I accept the superintendent recommendation, board administration, straight-up recommendation,
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
2014-2015.
Thank you. Second. Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. A motion is second to accept the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the administrative recommendations for 14-15. All those in favor signify by the raising. What?
Ms. Reed, have we reduced any administrative positions?
No, ma'am. Yeah, just answer Mr. McDaniel's question. Yeah, the administrative, administrators are the same as they were when I arrived, so we've not reduced any positions.
Is the student count the same, student population?
Pretty much the same. I mean, it's give or take. I mean, we've seen a little increase in enrollment at the high school, too, but generally speaking, it's about the same.
Wanted to ask, on the last one for the Beaver School employee,
Yeah.
it doesn't say what's the position on it, it says elementary.
That's on administrator,
Huh?
on the administrator.
York is the last name?
We can't talk about that.
No,
You can't use any name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's completely
I'm just
out of
asking-
order.
I'm just asking what the position was.
Let me see. You said Beaver?
Yeah.
But under Beaver, we have an assistant principal and a principal under the administrative recommendation.
No,
It's
the
on
next one
certified.
down.
Oh, she's talking about, you're talking about certified.
Right.
Yeah.
So we just passed.
We've already approved that, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to know what position, that was all.
Okay.
It just wasn't in there.
It would be an elementary position between the grades of 2 and 6.
Okay.
All right, did we vote?
No.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve those administrative recommendations for 14-15. All those in favor signify by raising of the right hand. Got 6, 0, there. Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question while we're on human resources? When our foreign language teachers are out for days and weeks at a time, or are we trying to get teachers in who can continue to teach those students the foreign language, or are we just having subs that come in and just basically just sit in place?
Most definitely, Mr. McDaniel, we're trying to get teachers in who can continue that. I'll tell you, the number of subs out there with a foreign language expertise are very, very small. So it is very difficult to find a sub who is able to teach French or Spanish or something of that nature. So I'll tell you that is very difficult, the volunteer field when those individuals are out. When we find that they're going to be out for an extended period of time, we try to find people who are willing to come in a long-term sub capacity, primarily if you can find a working retiree. But 99% of the people who have that level of expertise are already employed. So it's very difficult.
Have we looked at technology, and if we know they're gonna be out for an extended period of time, if we can't find someone, some kind of way using technology, maybe virtual or some kind of, so they can get some kind of instruction?
Yeah, in terms of a virtual setting, and that's a good idea. The only problem with that, Mr. McDaniel, is you would need to know in it like long time in advance, like a semester in advance. Because you just, for example, we have some students who are doing Latin in a virtual environment. There are some courses, for example, that are offering French in a virtual environment. But we don't have the authority just to have students patch into those courses just at a moment's notice. So we don't have that capability of just having students to participate through a virtual environment at a moment's notice.
Well, I guess, I mean, it's not even, a class, a virtual class course of that nature, but some other, even using the internet, if you go on the internet and they can pull up some kind of book or some kind of something, where they can, even if they go to the lab or something, versus just sitting in the class, and if you in a high-level Spanish class, and the, teacher is out for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and those students are in there virtually doing nothing, that's worse than being absent for 10 days. The state law says if you're absent for 10 days, then it's a problem. So, I mean, I don't know, but it seems like there will be some, they go to the lab, there's books or something they can practice on, they can do some kind of, what's that course when people miss classes, what you call that thing, you know, we let the kids come and take computer classes when they A+, yeah, something like that, just something so that they can still be engaged during that time that the sub is not there. Because it's really gonna hurt those students when they go to college. So if you just consider it, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on to the board chair report under the updates and announcements. I know we had the email flourish, but yes, we talked about having a board work session, a budget work session on April 1st. That was assuming that we had a budget presented to us. We can't have a work session until we have the budget presented. So it falls naturally to April 22nd. That was the date that was just discussed. If it is not the board's wishes to have a meeting, a budget work session on April 22nd, please suggest a date and we can have it some other time. We won't be having an April 1st session because we won't have the budget presented to us until April 8th. That meeting is moved up so that we can also ratify or approve those teacher contracts so that they can go out by April 15th, then spring break comes in there. So if the board's pleasure is to have a meeting, work session other than the 22nd of April, certainly I'm open to that, but we would need to have it between April the 8th and the May 3rd Tuesday meeting. So just let me know your pleasure on that. Don't forget your statement of economic interest. So they're pushing us with emails, and that's a good thing right now. And we've seen some pretty hefty fines in the with the Ethics Commission over the today for one. So make sure that gets done, and if you forget, pay it quickly because it apparently does add up on a daily basis fairly fast. Ms. McDaniel, you were going to report on your Washington truck.
Yes, I am. And about all of the, most of but most of the sessions that we went to are out on the website, the National School Boards Association website, and if anybody want to go out there and look at them. They changed the name from Federal Relations Network to advocacy, and they are more concerned with advocacy now than with the federal relations part of it. And they had several sessions and had several people come in to tell us that, you know, with all the different groups that's attacking public education, that we as board members need to do a better job of getting our information out, and that we need to be in constant contact, like Mr. Green said, which I've been in for, coming up with an idea for the legislatures and then actually communicating it to them. They said that we should be really, really vocal in talking to our congressional delegation. The issues that, when we went on the Hill, that they wanted us to request the congressmen to support was to restore the maximum flexibility to local school boards in the delivery of federal education programs. And the basic thing there was they felt like the federal government was getting too involved in what happens with the local school districts, that the federal government should pass the money down to the state, and then the state should work with the school districts as it relates to how to spend the money. But, by the same token, they asked us to, once again, which they do every year, but we never get full funding, to fully fund Title I and IDEA, and to reauthorize the Elementary and Secondary, Education Act. I don't know why they won't make that a law, but it's an act, so it have to be, constantly reauthorized. To create a major formula grant program to support local school districts to voluntarily establish and maintain preschool programs aligned with local school district expectations of a separate funding stream, of which, our delegation, they were very much in favor of the preschool. Of course, they weren't in favor of giving us any money for it. Restoring local flexibility to school districts struggling to comply with certain provisions under the child nutrition reauthorization of 2010. And child nutrition was a big thing that they were discussing, and making sure that we are providing more nutrition meals to our students, and making sure that the Coke machines and all the sugar machines were taken out of the schools. I had a chance to meet with Tim Scott. By the time I made it from one side of the State House, to the, what you call that place up there? The complex to the other side, I missed, my voting, but I did speak to his education advisor, and he asked me to send him an email. And one of the things that he and I discussed was the E-rate money that comes into the school district. If they could, relax some of the restrictions on that money and allow the school districts to determine, or have the option to utilize some of that money to help fund internet access for children who do not have it at home, and allow the school districts to come up with, the students that have that need. He was very interested in that, so I shot him an email, and he's going to get with Tim Scott, and they'll see if they can have some dialogue, because they thought it would be a good bipartisan venture.
You said that Mulvaney you talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe that.
No, I didn't talk to Mulvaney, I talked to his education
Did
advisor.
they respond to your email?
Not yet.
Okay, good luck.
But I just sent today now, so.
Okay. I haven't had any luck with them responding. I've
Yeah.
emailed and called and
Okay.
several times about different things, and they don't seem to be very receptive to getting back in touch. But let me know if they even respond. That would be, progress at least.
Okay, I will. Now, the other thing that was shocking, and I hope you and Mr. Green knows, because I told him I didn't believe it. But, like I said, I missed going to talk to him, but one of the other board chairs went from one of the core school districts, and was talking to them about the flexibility in spending. And he, according to them, he stated that he was not in favor, initially he was in favor of the flexibility in spending, but then he talked to some leadership here in Fairfield County, who said that the school district in Fairfield County had plenty of money, and that we wasn't doing what we needed to do with the money, so he was no longer in favor of it. So, when I talked to his education advisor, of course, he said he wasn't aware of that, and he asked me to put that in the email, so I put that in there too, because, even if someone in this district feels that the school district have too much money, then the way to deal with it is not to cut the funding stream off.
Right.
Then you come to the board and deal with us on how we're spending it, yeah. So, I'll let you know if you respond back on that issue as well.
Yeah.
But it was a good meeting, and there was one other thing. Connect to Excellence is one of the new initiatives. It used to be, the affiliate schools, the districts would be affiliate districts if they was part of, this, component of the National School Boards Association, where you can tap in and they provide you with a lot of resources and access to grants and stuff. I've got the folders, it's a whole lot of information in it, but it is a fee, for you to join, and the fee is in here. And for us, it would probably be around $3,000–4,000. But it seems like it might be pretty good to try it every year, and then if we don't like it, then maybe, we don't have to do it again. But it seems like they have some pretty good, opportunities for the districts. So I would like to ask that we try it at least 1 year. The Connect to Excellence is what it's called, and it's just provide resources to the district. And I think the most valuable is the, connection with grants. I think that's.
Ms. McDaniel, can I ask you one?
Yeah.
When you, if you do, get a chance to, I guess if he call or email you back, what about broadband? Can you mention that to him?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's one of the things that came up in the intergovernmental meeting again, and, the chairman of the county council, he said that they hadn't got any resorts, they can't get any money out of McVeigh, so maybe that would help us out as a school district, especially out there in the rural areas.
And actually, Tim Scott is easier to talk to, but of course, he said they have the power in the Senate, so that's why he told me to talk to Mulvaney, and we'll see whether or not he responds. But Tim Scott was good. They remember me from being up there last year, so I had a good conversation with them. Of course, you know, they put a lot of heat on him about school choice and that kind of stuff, but he had his own free will.
All right, anybody else want to contribute anything, an item from the School Board Association? We were all there a few weeks ago. It's a nice weekend. It didn't rain like the year before. It's decent. Anybody want to contribute a session or a tidbit that they gained? That was,
Well, I let me say this right here, because I ran my mouth too much anyway. But anyway, I was standing outside of one of the conferences. I'm not gonna talk to it when I'm in the conference, I'll let someone else talk about that, but I think it's very important to state this, that, and I think you might have been out there, Mr. Frick, Mr. Cunningham, and we were coming around, and his name is, I think his name is Dr. Alexander, I think, from Edgefield. Anyway, he was commenting on the performance of the superintendent as well as the board chair, and he said that it was very good. And so he made this one comment. He told me, he said that if I didn't have a good superintendent, I'll still have him. And of course, you know what I said, right?
Hey.
That ain't gonna happen. I know. But it's good that all the folks that I had a lot of, to meet your peers and to see so many of them and to recognize Fairfield County School District. It's a different ballgame, ladies and gentlemen. It's a different ballgame now. I'm not just saying it all because of Mr. Green, but I'm telling you that Fairfield County and school district is just, everybody want to come here now, or they're asking about us. And it doesn't do any, it does a lot of good to have an outstanding superintendent. I have to give him credit. He done brought some outstanding things to this county. I have to give him credit. So that's all I got to say on that right there.
Madam Chair,
yes, sir.
I was privileged to come down on Thursday morning early for Mr. Green's presentation and yours. Fairfield County was well represented by both of you. It was an early morning meeting, and of course, everybody knows I went down on Wednesday. And so did Mr. Green and Ms. Reed. But it was well represented. Fairfield County was well represented. These two individuals did an outstanding job for us, and I do appreciate both of them.
I would say there were probably about 100 people there in that session. More. It went really well. We had, I think I wound it up by saying that he does have a 4-year contract, and we plan for him to stay.
Oh.
he was not on the block there for him to say, we won't have him. So I think I wound it up by saying that. So
You tried to run me, ain't going.
okay. Any further topics, okay, Ms. Hartman?
I went to one of the programs was on economic development, which is what kind of money that we can get from that comes into our county. So that's pretty much, and I got brochures, I gave some to some of y'all
Yeah,
already.
got it, thank you.
I've got some other ones for the ones I missed. And also, there was a young gentleman that, talked about in another program, was, on technology. When he got in trouble in school, for using, the phone. And of course, he was saying that technology, that's where everything's going. And, so, that's where we're going, so. Also, I picked up, into, the ETV programs, there's, teacher, recertification, resources. And also, apparently there's free ETV training workshops also available. So I got flyers on those. Okay, the teachers, anybody's interested.
Okay, Mr. Pruitt? Anything to share?
I still didn't get to play any golf. And I was in class all the time this year learning stuff. So one day I'm gonna get the schedule worked out. So no, I said the same thing last year that I would say then again this year. It's always good to go see folks and realize that we are no worse off and in some degrees better off than many other places. And we certainly have an increasing reputation. That's just tremendous, and I'm proud to serve a small part of that, and thank everybody for their work on that. That's right.
There is a gentleman who won a Carolina golf bag. It's for sale, I think. Am I right?
No,
He said
that's
he's gonna
not.
learn to play golf.
Yeah,
I'm gonna learn to play golf. I did win a Carolina
You're not
bag.
gonna go play it.
Well, that wasn't just a Carolina bag, that was a nice.
That was a nice
Carolina
one.
bag.
Well, you could tell the Carolina
Oh my
folks.
God.
And Eddie had to
You can tell
remind
the
me to go to
Carolina
the
folks.
board to go get it.
I have a lot of folks come up to me and ask me for that bag, you know. But I got to learn how to play.
All right.
Mr. Armstrong, I got to learn how to play golf now.
We'll work it out.
All right, and the final agenda item is the recommendation that we talked about for a contract for policy revision services from the School Boards Association.
Need a motion? I so move, Madam Chair, we accept that, the contract with the School Board Association.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cunningham.
I second that.
Second, thank you. Mr. Miller, discussion or questions?
Madam Chair, I just would like to know how they're gonna handle, because the contract clearly states that they are only going to look at federal, state, and local laws. They're not gonna look at the issues that I wanted us to discuss in the policies that I requested that we put on the table. So I just need to know how they're going to handle those.
Well, you know what, I don't know, but let's let them tell us how they're gonna handle that. And it does say that they will have a workshop session to review all of that. So I think there will be opportunities to ask those questions.
No, they specifically said in here somewhere that they were not, because that's not what they do. They don't tell the board what to put in their local policies to operate their own district. And they're
Right,
not,
but then that may provide the segue to that, is what I'm saying. There will be a work session on that, so then the segue will be to further review as we want to,
when are we looking at contracting with it?
as soon as possible.
You've been around Mr. Green too long, would that be a direct date?
If it's approved tonight, I don't know why not tomorrow. I mean, it's, I don't have to be around Mr. Green to be myself.
I think that's probably.
It was Mr. Green, I probably knew it was a company. I don't know why, Ms. Reed know that, I don't know why she acted like that. The other thing is, we already signed the contract, so did we vote on this at some?
It is being voted on tonight?
Yeah, and let me speak to that, Ms. McDaniel. I get so many things in my signature folder, and actually I had signed it before I realized what it was. So I called Ms. Reed, told I had signed it, but we wouldn't send it back until you voted on it. So I did sign it, but we didn't sign it.
Yeah, we thought we'd wait. Okay.
Instead of contracting for the $1,200, that would be a chair recommendation rather than the superintendent, so.
Yeah, also, wouldn't that need to be signed by you, Ms. Reeves?
That's what she's saying.
Okay.
All right,
Well, are we gonna do the other parts too? Because according to this contract, we're only doing section D, which is school board governance. We're not gonna do the rest of the policies.
well, let's get this started. That's my recommendation, let's get it started, and then let's see where it takes us.
Is it possible that we can move those three that I requested up to the front end, so we can, talk to those, discuss those? Because.
How about we allow everyone to have input for what they want to be moved? So why don't we, in that case, put it out there to say, why don't you email those to me?
I already emailed them
And
to you.
email them again?
No, I'm not emailing them again.
Okay.
Is there
And then
a problem?
we will send, well, I mean, you know, we've got to organize it. I'm gonna organize it by what I receive in email that is going to be recommended for policy revision or review. So let's just keep it, it's simple, it's
Okay.
not that difficult. If you want something brought up, then let's take it to them formally. So send an email, I'll compile all of them and send them to them. We can do that, that's a fair way to address everyone's
You want to be finished? what
concern.
trying
I'm
to say?
talking to.
Okay.
So, we've got a recommendation,
Madam Chair, but I'm,
Okay.
okay. Now, I'm gonna say this again, and now I'm serious. There are three policies that this board really needs to discuss.
I'm sure there are more than
And
three.
I have asked, well, on these three, one of them is, and I've stated it before, and I don't know what the problem is, why we don't want to discuss them. There are policies that have been brought to this board that we have discussed and we have voted on. And they're not as important as these are. Now, one of them, I will reiterate, is the way the salutatorian and valedictorian is selected over at the high school in the class rankings, and that policy, and making sure that that policy is accurate. I've had the conversation with Mr. Green, he reviewed it, and the time when he and I had the conversation, he was said that we needed to discuss it, to make sure that it's correct and falls in line with the law. The other one is that travel policy. We need to talk about that travel policy and make sure that we are doing in the policy what we're supposed to be doing. Because as I stated before, I was shocked that we would want to write checks to employees because we can't reconcile the daggone, credit card. And that should not be the case. And for us to not discuss these policies and make sure that the board members have the same understanding in the policy and that administration is handling administration in accordance with those policies is not good. And the third one being the use of the facilities. Now, some people come and they want to use the facilities, we give them a hard time. Other people come and want to use the facility, they can stand at the podium on public comment time and we can sit up here and vote. All I'm asking is that we review the policies and make sure that we are functioning and that the policies have in it what we intend for them to have in it.
And I am asking that those policies be submitted again by email, and there are other people, I'm sure, that have policies that they think are, just as up for review.
But they
So
hadn't said
they will be compiled, and they will be submitted as well. So, if there's no more discussion, we can vote on this. All those in favor of the approval of the contract for policy revision services with the School Board Association, signify by raising your right hand. Got 4, opposed? 1, 2, opposed. All right, as I mentioned before, it's April 22nd, it's not a suitable date for a budget work session. It's a date that would fall into this calendar of anticipated time in which we could also talk about the firms for, vote on firms for construction. So it also fell into that. Is there another date someone would like to propose?
How long would the time take as far as the contract?
What was the question?
You're talking about putting the two together with contracts with that, right? Well, how long out of that work session is it gonna take with the contract?
Well, we can probably devote an hour or so each. You know, there is I don't think we have to talk about them to death. We don't know. We're gonna have those presentations, I think, next time, so we will have those presentations in public session.
According to some documents that was in there, there are 5 people who come and present before us,
Right.
and 5 people gonna come present in less than an hour.
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about the budget
work session,
Then we move to the
Wait.
22nd.
that we're gonna talk about those firms as well as the budget for that.
Madam Chair, can I say this right here? You know, I'm flexible, okay? Whether it's 22nd, somebody might be working out of town, so if it needs to be changed, I'm fine with that too. You know, whether it's 22nd, 15th, or whatever, you know, I'm fine with it. You know, just call it, and make it happen.
Well, my problem is,
Yes, ma'am?
Madam Chair, is the changing the dates, and yes, I do work out of town.
Yes, ma'am?
And we decided on the date at the retreat. So when we realized, for whatever reason, administration couldn't make the date, then we should have been notified.
You were that day.
So they didn't know until that day that they couldn't make the date?
That was the day I knew. That's all I mean, that I can inform you only as I
So
know.
what was the problem? We decided on a date in
I don't know
January.
what the
Mr. Green, if you could comment, please, sir.
Well, let me say this, Ms. McDaniel, and maybe my understanding was a little different than yours. When we were talking about April 1st, I saw April 1st really as a target date. I didn't even put that date on my calendar. I thought the big issue was that we wanted to do it in between the first reading and the second reading. So I never assumed that April 1st was a firm date. I just assumed that we were doing it somewhere around that point in time. So apparently there was a miscommunication there. I didn't think it was a firm date. I thought that was just a target area that we were looking at. So I didn't really think that it was firm.
And apparently, the chair may not be talking, because somewhere in these minutes, she stated that it was April 1st. But that's not here or there then.
Right.
When is the next date that you gonna be ready, because we can't have the budget workshop if you don't have the budget ready to present to us.
Well, the budget's gonna be presented on the 8th, Ms. McDaniel. Right now, the session is
Where's the
scheduled.
22nd coming from?
The
After
22nd.
the session,
It's
between the
after
first and
that.
second reading.
Well, the 8th is the same day that was in the document that those companies was gonna come and present. So we're gonna have 5 companies coming here presenting on the 8th, and we're gonna have the budget work session on the 8th.
Yeah, well, see what happened, Ms. McDaniel, if I made this presentation.
The presentation.
Didn't you say the budget will be ready on the 8th?
That's what I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, you aren't going to vote on the firms the same day they present. So they'll present one day, you'll have opportunity to process that, think about that.
But that's not my issue. My issue is the amount of time that it's gonna take them to present.
They'll be doing.
With 5 of them, if you get 20 minutes apiece, you at an hour already.
So you think you'd be
That's
here
not
too
gonna be on the
long?
work
or-
session, right?
It's on the 8th, and that's when you say you're gonna do the budget
It's
on
a
the 8th.
regular meeting.
Right, it's a regular meeting.
So we're not gonna discuss the budget on the 8th.
The budget will be presented, you get opportunity to ask questions about the budget.
And that's my question. See, that's why you got confused. That's my question then. We're gonna have the budget work session, we're gonna have discussion of the budget on the 8th at that meeting, and those companies are gonna also come and present on the 8th at that meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
And we're expecting that meeting to last for,
We'll be here as long as it takes.
all right, as long as you said that.
Yeah, as long as it takes.
All right, I'm good now.
All right.
Madam Chair, make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. All those in favor? Yes, absolutely.
Dr. Ellis, is there no way that we can get to this day, other than tonight? Doesn't matter.